Good evening, friends. Week 14. The playoffs are nigh. For a few teams, you need a win this week. I'm Ryan. I don't need a win this week. He's Dan. He does. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Better before you reminded me of that. Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting week, Dan. You've said it from the very beginning. The league has never been this competitive. Well, you talked about parity, but I don't think the league's ever been this competitive. And I actually went and found a stat to prove it, Dan.
Nice.
This, in my three things that we learned last week, is the second time in league history and the first since 2009 that every team in the league has won at least 4 games.
Wow.
And if Greg, Phil, and Darren all win this week, definitely possible, it'll be the first time in league history everybody's had 5 wins.
I think it's possible that Greg and Darren win this week. Phil, no. I listen. I had to have a talk with Jesse this week.
Her lineup setting is falling way off.
I said that she really needs to help him, and she says she doesn't understand. He just sits around the house and doesn't do anything.
Oh my god!
So she doesn't understand why his fantasy team isn't better. She's like, it should be better. He's not doing anything else. And I said, he needs your help. He can't do this without you. He's like, I guess you're right.
Well, it's not where I expected this to go. Dan, one other thing that jumped out to me about week 13, no bye weeks, but only 3 teams managed 100 points. We should have been setting our best lineups forward last week. And while me, you, and Darren did that, a lot of other people did not.
Yeah. Watching my score.
I think I said only 3 teams hit 100. I'm sorry, only 6 teams hit 100, and only 3 of those teams are guaranteed to make the playoffs, is what I meant to say. So.
Gotcha. As frustrating as it is to have the third highest score and still lose.
Yeah.
I will say that getting those points when it comes down to tiebreakers was just as important as getting the win last week. You know what I mean? I needed those points. I would have lost bad and scored like a Phil score, I'd be really hurting right now.
That's fair. Let me go ahead and get the standings up on the screen. I wanted to try a new layout, but this is not playing very nice with me right now for me to try the layout I wanted to try, so I probably will not be trying a new layout. There's one. It's this one. Does it work? It doesn't work. I thought it'd be cool if we could be on either side of the layout. So I'll just go back to where we were.
I like being right next to you.
There you go. Underneath me where you belong. When you look at the standings right now, Dan, me and Stevie are technically the only clinched. Rob definitely has a chance, but you bring up a very interesting point. We go all the way to 8th place. And then when you look at the tiebreaker points, you are ahead of Rob, behind Terry, slightly behind Rob P, but then a good ways ahead of JR and a mountain ahead of Eric. So it does put you in a nice spot for the tiebreaker if things get weird with the win-losses this week.
Yeah. I was worried about that. Now, here's the thing. The way it ended up shaking out, if I lose, I'm out. In my opinion. Because, what is it? Greg plays. Or not Greg. Rob plays. JR. So one of those two is getting a win.
Yeah, you could say Rob P versus JR is in. Like that is a win and in situation. Like that's truly the only one, though. Everybody else has a game with a non-playoff team.
Well, Terry has a bye. He plays Phil. So Terry's in.
Okay, you're giving. Well, hold on. Let's not give away the show. Well, let's get through that in a second. And then Dan, I wanted to wrap my part of this discussion up, and you can obviously jump in here, but I think you'll have some fun with this one. I am fairly certainly going to break JR's scoring record. Back in a 13-game schedule, JR scored 861 fantasy points. I'm going to beat that. It took us 5 years of a 14-game schedule for anyone to come close to it, but I'm going to beat it. But I'm not going to beat it on a per-game basis. So am I just an asterisk? Do I keep 2 records? Do I track JR's points per game record? And that's what we track? I don't know what to do at this point. I mean, I'm happy I'm going to beat it.
Because you've added an extra game, it has to be points per game. Because here's the thing. Let's say you break the record. All right. In 3 years, when the NFL adds an 18th game and we have to add a 15th,
and then my record just goes away again. So
how would you feel about that? Would you be like, I actually outscored this person based on an average per game, but because they added a 15th?
No, I'm going to be perfectly honest. So I spent a lot of time on this week. What JR did back in 2018, I don't know how quickly I can get this up here, was fucking wild. I cannot get it up quickly. Wild. I will have these stats for next week when we talk about not giving me the record. But he averaged, Dan, 140 plus points per week in 2018. That was also before we rebalanced IDP and team defense to make those more interesting. What JR did in that season is incredible, plain and simple. And the math lines up that I believe you're going to need to crack. I'm just quickly doing 140 times 14. 140 times 14 is 1960. I don't think I can get to that unless I have the wildest week ever. But even still, I thought I did the math when I was looking into this earlier. You have to crack 2,000 points to beat JR's record. So I 100% agree the record should remain with JR. 140 points per game. When you think of everything we've added to this league in the last 7 years, what he did back then, what a fucking team, plain and simple.
So are you saying that maybe he constructed the best team in the league's history?
Oh, I mean, on a points per game, yes, I would say he went, I think 13 or 12-1 that year. And then obviously won every game in the playoffs. Yes, I would say JR, that's a fun thing that I should put together. JR, I think, put together the best team in league history. Let me make sure I'm right about the record. I think I am, though. It got beat because people can go 13-1 now, and that is a fair record because they had a better record than JR, plain and simple. So I'll have to go in and look into that. But I do believe, and this will be a fun thing to maybe do a next week's show. I think that team is probably the best team in league history. Yes, I do.
Here's what you need to do. Collect your top 8 teams.
I'll probably go top 10.
No. Let's see them 1 through 8.
Okay.
1 versus 8, 2 versus 7.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So we're going to do a playoff.
Into a bracket, into a playoff here.
Okay.
We agree on which team is better.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what.
Take away points. Take away records. Just looking at rosters, which team is better? More of an impressive roster. It'll be tough because you got to look at the time of when you had them. So the year and the team.
Well, I mean, you say take away points. I'll take it away when we're talking about it, but I will be picking my 8 teams by points and record. Okay. All right. I don't know that I'll have that all ready next week.
But a job. What else do you have to do?
Fair enough. A lot of fantasy shit right now. And Lee says 5 teams on 7 wins is diabolical. Yes, it absolutely is, man. I always call you Lee. I think it's Nate. But regardless, it has been a wild season, to say the very, very least. Dan, before we move on to week 14, the big week, anything to add of what you learned in week 13?
Points matter. That was my thing. I think I kept watching the whole week. Wasn't even who was winning and losing, who was getting points and who wasn't.
Yeah, it certainly a wild, wild week. Dan, let's get into the games. A little bit of Thursday action. We start off with me versus Darren. First place versus last place. Though Darren has commendably worked himself into a 3-way tie for last place. and can work himself out. And like I said, he's picking up nice lottery points. Sleeper has this game projected to be a blowout, 47 points my way. Dan, I don't have a ton of notes on this game. I'm picking myself. Pretty happy with my IDP pickup. Gets a safety and a fumble recovery. Or no, he got a sack. They called it back from a safety. A sack and a fumble recovery in the game. A-Chain, McBride, my wide receivers. It just makes this tough on Darren. It's probably not going to matter in the sense of the lineup, Dan, but I think a lot of folks out there are wondering, and if you happen to be tuning into this show, the safe option with like Daniel Jones or Darren Daniel Jones, or do you go with the high swing Jaden Daniels activated this week to take on the Minnesota Vikings?
Minnesota's look pretty bad, so I think I'd probably take the swing.
Certainly in the spot Darren's in, right? Like, what's Daniel Jones going to do for you that Jaden Daniels can't? And I'm in a Jaden Daniels dilemma in another of my leagues. Jaden Daniels, for the games he has played this season, actually has not been that bad. He hasn't been rookie season Jaden Daniels, but he's been all right.
I don't know. Maybe Daniel Jones going against that Jacksonville defense might. I mean, he scored 16 the past 2 weeks. You know, if he puts up a little bit more, gets into the 20s, that's a good start.
There you go. I imagine you're taking me here.
Yeah, I'm taking you. How did we do last week?
Oh, great question. Thank you for asking. So me and Darren went 6-1. You went 5-2. You are now 7 games behind me. So you're going to need a lot of makeup as we move into the playoffs. Darren's sitting at 50 correct now, 11 games behind you, but a very predictable week. You had 1 game wrong that I had right. So great question. We move on. We got Stevie versus Eric. Little bit of Thursday action here. Stevie gets 10 points out of Amon-Ra St. Brown, which was a surprise active. I don't want to hear anybody bitching about not setting their lineup. Nobody knew Amon-Ra St. Brown was playing in this game until 7:30, and Stevie managed to get him into his lineup. So we should all be paying attention. Right now, Eric is projected to lose this game by 10. Dan, I'll let you get us started on this one.
Oh, man. I need Stevie to win this game. So, but Stevie has not been putting up the points lately.
I'm gonna 100% true. Saquon Barkley's been a bit of a disappointment. He's starting Ty Johnson this week, which is wild. I have a league where it's very deep rosters that I'm actually starting Ty Johnson myself. But I mean, I guess Stevie, the bye is locked up for him. He could potentially steal first place for me if everything shook out the way it needed to.
You have to remember, he traded his whole bench to get Jamar Chase.
Exactly.
So he doesn't have options. I'm going to go Eric on this one.
Interesting. Well, that gets us our first disagreement that you need, because I did take Stevie. In my notes, Dan, I put, Amon-Ra St. Brown did fine. You obviously want more than fine. I just don't trust Xavier Worthy out of Eric's lineup. I love both defenses here. Kelsey versus Parkinson, edges to Stevie. Jamar Chase over Devonta Smith, edges to Stevie. But like I said, the Denver defense versus the Cleveland defense are 2 of my absolute favorite defenses this week. One thing that could bring this right back to Eric, if Evan McPherson comes out and kicks like he did a week ago, I think that could literally be a game changer. I'm going to go with Stevie just because the complete lineup is a little bit better. I do see where Eric's running backs could possibly outplay Stevie's receivers. Stevie needs Jamar Chase to be very good against Buffalo.
I mean, I hope you're right. I hope that I am wrong. But I'm taking Eric to get the win.
There you go. We got Rob Motts versus Taylor. Taylor with the 5 wins. I say Taylor needs the win here, but Taylor's out of it at 6 wins. So never mind. So not a lot of playoff implications here, but Rob can clinch his spot. Rob does not want any sort of weird tiebreaker situation. And with that many teams at 7 wins, Rob cannot afford a tiebreaker. However, Rob gets 12 points from Javonte Williams on Thursday night and is projected to lose this one by 5 points. When I shook the whole game out, I do have Taylor winning this. It's close at every spot, but I love the matchup for Bo Nix taking on Vegas, even though he did not do great against them the last time they faced off. And then obviously Jackson Smith and Jigba just feels like a win every time he steps on the field.
I think it's going to be a high scoring, close game. I do think Taylor takes the win as well,
I was looking at Rob's team. I forgot to look to see if he got Brian Thomas Jr. into his lineup last week, but he still doesn't have him in this week. When I was looking at his games, Woody Marks versus Troy Franklin versus Brian Thomas Jr. Is there any room to get BTJ into this lineup, or are we still just not ready to put any trust in him since he has not done a whole lot this season?
I mean, he hasn't scored 10 points since week 6. I mean, he missed some of those games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But still,
I mean, he hasn't even played, like, he's played 75% of the snaps last week. That's not even, I mean, I see why Rob Dick can't play him. I mean,
yeah.
I think Rob's doing the right thing with Marks. He's getting the bulk of the carries there. He's just not getting in the end zone, and it's killing him.
Yeah. It's Rob won games early in the season, and he has held on to that, and I give him kudos for that. I hope he can make the playoffs. Like I said, Rob and Terry, other than myself, are a team I would like to see win a championship. Bringing us to Terry versus Phil. Unfortunately, with the way Phil's team has played over the last few games, it's impossible to pick him at all. Dan, when I played this game out, I do see Phil having a chance here. But then when you look at what Phil's team has done in the last 5 weeks, you can't put any faith in Phil's team. I'm picking Terry. I'm picking Josh Allen. I'm picking Derrick Henry this week.
I'm picking Terry. I think this game will be over before the 1:00 games are over. And most of Phil's team plays at 4. So,
yeah. Dan, I remember I put Taylor in for you versus Taylor versus Motts. I now don't remember you saying that. Did you pick Taylor in that match?
Yeah, I picked Taylor.
Okay. I've clearly lost my conversation when I was talking here because I'm like, I don't remember any of this. So, but you kind of touched on it earlier in the show. Phil's breakdown doesn't score 70 points again last week. Wild what we've seen from Phil's team as of late. Now, what's funny, Dan, is when I look at this team, Jordan Love, I like the matchup a lot. DJ Moore becomes the wide receiver 1. I like the matchup a lot. Brenton Strange, I like the matchup a lot. There's a lot of reasons for me to convince myself I like Phil's team here, but there's no way in hell I'm going to put any sort of pick on Phil's team.
Off the top of your head, how many more points do you think your team has scored more than Phil's this year?
I know I'm at 1780. I'm going to say 450.
Not even close. You've almost scored 700 more points than him. You're at 690 more points than him.
It's a rough season. What's funny is I should have realized that. I was looking to see if Phil is having our worst season ever. But Brian, the year before he dipped on us, fucked around enough that he barely scored 1,000 points. So
I wonder what Dave did the year he went 0-13.
I can look into that. I'll also do a bracket for our 8 worst teams. We'll put that one together.
There we go.
We got Rob P.
Nobody will be insulted by that.
No, not at all. We got Rob P versus JR. Or no, I'm saving this one for last because it's literally the winning in situation. So we got Horvath versus Greg. Greg set a lineup. Greg actually made some free agent moves. Greg actually has a pretty damn good team put together. And Sleeper has this game as a 2-point difference. Dan, I'll let you get us started here.
Close matchup.
Yeah.
A lot of points already scored. Stevie taking 0 out of his defense is going to hurt a lot. Nothing out of his IDP really either. I'm going to go ahead and go with Greg to get the win.
I'm giving you an opportunity here again because I am going to take Horvath, and I'm taking Horvath on the back of Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving came out last week and had 19 touches in his first game back. I think New Orleans is a good matchup for him. But I put in my notes the exact same thing you did. First of all, what a Thursday. What a kicking battle that I have up on the screen right now. 23 points from Brandon Aubrey, 16 points from Jake Bates. But the 0 from the defense definitely puts Horvath in a spot. However, when I look at this running back matchup of Jordan Mason and Bam Knight versus Kenneth Gainwell and Bucky Irving, I think Horvath can bounce back. I also think there's a world where Caleb Williams can outscore Jared Goff in this matchup.
There is that world, but man, Caleb Williams.
certainly an untrustworthy fellow. There's no denying that.
I will say, with the fact that Odunze is out, makes me, with this injury that he's been, I don't know what you saw, but what I saw was that he's actually been dealing with this foot fracture for a while and just playing through it. And that may be a good reason as to why he's dropped off so much. It makes me feel better about it, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I've spent a lot of time over the last, 10 days actually talking about this. Rome Odunze and Emeka Egbuka kind of took like the same trajectory this season, and their fall off, especially for folks. Now, you didn't like pay up for Odunze, and I don't think Egbuka moved in this league at all. But for the folks out there who bought them after the first 4 weeks, you got to have the largest sense of buyer's remorse ever, because they've essentially had the exact same trajectory. It's good to hear, like you said, that Odunze is maybe caused by something else and him trying to be a baller and not that he just cannot function in this damn offense.
I mean, yeah, the first month of the season proves he can function in the offense.
Exactly.
But if he's been playing for the past 6 weeks with a stress fracture in his foot, and that explains a lot.
Oh, it really does. Which brings us to your matchup, because you lost Rome Odunze this week. You get Kenny. Kenny is technically in playoff contention. However, doesn't look like he's going to have a very good week. You are projected to win this one by 14 points. And Dan, I am picking you to win this one. I looked at this and said every starter should break your way. But then you have the Burrow versus Shador where you're just going to eat him alive. And then I had in my notes, losing Odunze is rough, but it's not like he's been contributing for the last 4 weeks. So now it kind of gives you a good reason to move off of him a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was going to keep playing him just in hopes that, because they weren't saying anything about the injury. They were keeping that pretty hush.
It was the first I heard of it. And then my only concern for you, Dan, is I thought I read that we need to consider him week to week, which now kind of puts him on the shelf for you for the playoffs. But again, you got here without him. So,
well, here's the thing. I would rather, if he's hurt, I'd rather him just be out and know he's out and know not to play him than to have him in there and knowing that he's not, and with the risk of him not doing anything because he's hurt and not telling anybody.
On Thursday, you get 11 points out of David Montgomery. He gets 6 points out of George Pickens. Other than that, you guys have the exact same amount of players going. I imagine you're picking yourself to win this one.
I am. Let me behind the curtain a little bit. Funny story. So Thursday night, I went to bed before the game ended. And I got up Friday morning to check to make sure nothing happened after I went to bed.
Yeah, wild-ass score at the end there.
Yeah, so then I was like, crap, he must have done something. And I checked it, and it showed the 11-6 that it is. And I got on Twitter for a minute, and someone was like, look at this great catch, or this great job by George Pickens. And I'm like, did it just not update the score? Because it's like I'm watching this play, and it's a deep throw. And it's actually just someone making fun of this deep throw to him and how he put zero effort in actually catching the ball.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I was like, oh, God, thank God. I was like, thought for sure that he like had this massive play, adding another 3 or 4 or 5, who knows, maybe a touchdown onto it. Like, as I'm panicking in this moment that they didn't update, the app didn't update or whatever, reload when I got into it.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. Little heart attack on my end.
I had a league where when I heard Amon-Ra was playing, I was debating. I'm pretty stacked at wide receiver in that league. I was starting Ladd McConkey over him, but obviously there's the issues with Justin Herbert in that offense right now. Everything goes live at 8:15. I literally switched it, Dan, at I'm guessing 8:14 and 58 seconds. As I made the switch, I wanted to move. It's a different league. I wanted to move Amon-Ra out of my flex and into my wide receiver. He was already locked into place. Literally, it was the last possible second for me to make the change.
Yeah, been there.
Yeah, that was a fun one. But yeah, like I said, obviously, you kind of brought up Shador Sanders, 7 and 9 points in 2 weeks in our league. I understand Kenny's a Browns homer, but that ain't going to get it done, especially when you kind of have a shot at the playoffs. That's not a start I'm making.
Yeah, I mean, he's an outside shot. Everything has to fall his way. I'm taking myself. I think I should get this win, but anything can happen.
There you go.
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm nervous about Myles Garrett.
And how could you not be? Trust me, he's a game ender. So, and that brings us up to the only 7-7 matchup. Rob P taking on JR. Obviously it's been an up season for JR. It's been kind of a down season for Rob P. They kind of end up exactly the same spot. Pretty wild to have JR be 7-6 when he has Mahomes and Jonathan Taylor on this team. Like, that's just crazy stuff to me, Dan. Rob P projected to win this one by 16 points. That is after he gets 14 from Dak Prescott and 31 from Jahmyr Gibbs on Thursday. Dan, how do you see the win and in battle playing out?
I mean, based on what we've already seen, I think Bobby wins, should take the win. I'm hopeful he takes the win. I want JR in the consolation bracket with that first round pick for me.
There you go.
With that being said, I mean, it favors him. Mahomes going against that Houston defense.
Yeah,
they're a good NFL defense. I don't love the fact that Wins has taken the Texans defense.
So that's in my notes, Dan, is to ask you, would you go with Philadelphia, who may get Trey Lance on Monday night?
Even if they start
Justin Herbert.
I mean, he's hurt. Like, he's not 100%.
Well, even before that, they're giving up like top 10 fantasy points to defenses this season. Herbert has had a great season up until this point. The team is still turning the ball over. And like I said, they're giving up top 10 fantasy points to special teams and defense this season.
So I don't know. I'm nervous about that start.
I would go Philly. I really would.
I know Philadelphia's defense hasn't been a monster, and like Houston's defense has been done well, but it makes me nervous. It's in Kansas City. If it was in Houston, maybe feel a little bit better about that. But I still think, regardless, he'll get the win here.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to pick someone different, because the other one I was going to ask you about, Dan, was Devin Neal versus Adonai Mitchell. And Adonai Mitchell finally showed up for the Jets last week after 2 weeks of John Mechie. Devin Neal has been kind of slow and steady, wins the race, but hasn't been fantastic since kind of taking over that job. 8 and 7 points. Needing a win to get into the playoffs, which one of those two players would you go with?
I don't trust anybody consistently on the New York Jets.
I think that's fair.
So that makes it tough. I'd probably go Neal in that one.
Yeah.
But when you look at Mitchell, I mean, he's averaging 8 targets a game at this point for the last 3 weeks. It's hard not to see that and think there's opportunity there, but at the same time, it's the Jets.
I'm also taking Rob P. Bobby wins here. Jahmyr Gibbs did what you needed to do. Like, obviously, Jonathan Taylor's had better games than that, but a normal Jonathan Taylor game is still going to come up 10 to 15 points behind what Jahmyr Gibbs put up. What I wanted to draw attention to is this 4 wide receiver box of just a bucket of fucking disappointment here. Emeka Egbuka step back. Zay Flowers step back, as that whole offense has. DK Metcalf step back. Keenan Allen step back. We might see the fewest points by wide receivers in a matchup in this matchup here when the playoffs are on the line. But the other person I wanted to draw attention to, Dan, is Tyler Warren going up against TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson has been a huge disappointment this season. Not even a top 15 tight end, if I remember correctly. Tyler Warren started hot, has slowed down a bit, but I think this matchup against Jacksonville, we could see really, really good Tyler Warren, and I think that's going to be part of the edge that puts Bobby Wins ahead here and gets him that win and into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just I think he has a good advantage with most of his spots on his team.
And like you said,
he's going to have a huge game against Tennessee.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say, like you said, it's already in the books for him, what he got from Jahmyr Gibbs. We're not waiting to see what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's no lead is safe from a Thursday night, as we talked about earlier, but to know you're getting 31 from him and Bobby's problem all year has been quarterback. And you already got 15 out of that, which is probably a season high for him.
And made the switch, Lamar Jackson to Dak Prescott, like we thought he would. So
you had mentioned the crap show that is the receiver matchup in that one.
Yeah.
I meant to bring this up earlier. We talked about our lessons learned from last week. I don't know that I've ever seen a team have all three receivers score multiple touchdowns the way yours did last week against me.
Oh, yeah.
All three of your receivers had 2 touchdowns.
2 touchdowns
each. I don't
each.
know that I've ever seen that on a lineup before.
Yeah, that would be a fun thing if we were able to track that. But, yeah, that was wild. Like, my team's obviously hitting things at the right spot. I love that I joked about my players scoring multiple touchdowns, and then they kind of came out and do it. I just didn't get the interceptions I wanted from Joe Burrow. So
sorry you're just so disappointed.
It's all about win margin, Dan. I can't when you're doing as well as my team, you have to play a different game, and that new game for me is
overconfident Ryan. It's gonna blow up in about 2 weeks.
I was gonna say I hope week 15. I hope it's terrible for me. I hope all my players stay healthy, but have a terrible week 15. That's what I'm hoping for.
No, week 16. Sorry,
week 16. I've already talked to them. They're ready to go. So, Dan, with that all shaking out, we pretty much agreed on every matchup with the exception of I have Stevie winning, you have Eric winning. I have Horvath winning. You have Greg winning, and that one has almost no playoff implications. So for me, Dan, the playoffs stay exactly how they've stayed for me for the last few weeks. Stevie and me to appease the fantasy gods. Stevie is my champion. Mott's, Rob P, you, and Terry.
Yeah, I'm going to say that the 6 that are there are the 6 that are going to be in.
Yep, that's kind of how I saw it too. I'll be interesting to see how the seeding takes shape if I can get the playoff thing up here. I should walk away with the first seed unless wild shit happens, which means I play the 4-5 matchup and then Stevie gets the 3-6 matchup.
So I hope everybody stays exactly how they are.
That's how you want it to shake out?
Oh, yeah. I want to play Mott's in the round 1, play Stevie in round 2, and then play Bobby wins in the championship.
Oh, you bastard. Who's your champion right now, Dan?
You.
I know. I was like, don't shit talk me.
I still hope it happens. I'm not saying it's not. It's going
true.
to happen. I'm just saying I hope that it happens.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. Let me close some.
Don't get me wrong. I want to play you in the championship because that would be fun. But at the same time, the risk of losing you in the championship and have to deal with you, I don't want to deal with that. That's not worth it.
That's fair. That's very, very fair.
Unbearable.
Last week in the game, Darren takes it down. Dan, pitiful performance by you. Matt Stafford and JSN both let you down. I did okay with Josh Allen and CMC, but Darren with Drake May and Devon Achane. I do not have Darren's picks at all for this week. Dan, I will always give you the chance to name your players first, even though I know you're not going to.
No, sir. Go right ahead.
I did it how I always did it. I looked at my rankings that I put up every week, and I looked for who I thought had the chance at the biggest breakout games. And for me at quarterback, I think it's Patrick Mahomes. He needs to have this enormous game. I know the Texans defense is tough, but when I look at the quarterbacks who haven't played yet, I like Mahomes the best. I almost went Joe Burrow. I have my worries a little bit about Josh Allen, but I almost went Joe Burrow. I'm going Mahomes, and I'm going to take Jackson Smith and Jigba. Atlanta has flipped a switch the wrong way over the last few weeks. A few weeks ago when they played New England, Demario Douglas ate them alive. And at that point, it was very evident Atlanta could not stop slot wide receivers. Literally since that point, their very next game was against Teteroa McMillan, and they've been shutting down slot wide receivers and getting killed by outside wide receivers, hence Adonai Mitchell going off against them last week. So that tells me JSN, who has been predominantly playing outside because they don't run a lot of slot for the Seattle Seahawks, I think JSN eats Atlanta alive. Give me Patrick Mahomes and JSN.
Okay. I'm going to go Burrow, and I'm going to go James Cook.
Burrow and Cook. I like it. Game stack. That's actually going to be a basis, I think, for some of my DFS lineups. For the game, Dan, you have 5 wins this season. I have 3. Horvath and Darren each have 2. Taylor has 1. So those are really only me, you, and Darren have been the only ones playing. You've just been kind of dominating that one. And Dan, that wraps up the Week 14 festivities. We will be talking playoffs next week. Any parting words for our friends?
I love you guys. Have a great weekend.
That's my answer too. I'm not going to be mean to Darren. I've said this earlier. Darren's activity from being our last team to get a win to now up to 4 wins. I'll say one thing. Some people, a faction of people in this league, were not happy about the anti-tanking laws that I put into place without putting to a vote. But Dan, you can't look at the standings of this league and not say that every decision that has been made to fix this league has not been great, because what a competitive season. I'm proud of these guys. That's where I wanted to end it.
No, I agree. I think it kept everything interesting, keeps everybody playing for the most part.
Yeah, except for one. But hey, he played this week.
There you go.
Now, I'll end it with shout out to Darren. I'm going to beat your ass. It's going to be fun for me, not fun for you. But I'm proud of you, buddy. 4 wins from being the last team to get a win. Nice job.
Hey, Darren, if you can beat him and cost him that number 1 seed, I'll give you an extra point of luck.
Ooh, he can't give you luck. I'm in control of the document. See you guys next week.